All right, so hi, my name's Logan Reed. I'll just wait for people to be joining us. I see it's bumped up a little bit, and I'm an assistant dean of admission here. We'll be having this wonderful session for the Sharpe Scholars program, and we've got some fellows, as you can see, and the director and the living learning program manager, so the people who are involved in this program and living it. So we'll just give it a couple minutes. And I guess we could just do just brief introductions as people, because it's kind of keeping going up. But again, my name is Logan Reed. I'm assistant dean of admissions. So if you have any admissions questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And yeah, so we'll just let everyone just give quick introductions, and then I'll just roll the video. I'll start with you, Monica, I guess.
Monica Griffin. I'm director of the Sharpe Community Scholars program.
Hi, my name is Jabria Craft, and I am the Sharpe Living Learning Program Manager.
Hi, my name is Maya. I'm one of the Sharpe Fellows this year, and I'm a senior studying sociology and public health.
Hi, I'm Eva. I'm also one of the Sharpe Fellows, and I am a junior studying psychology.
All right, great. So I'll just start us off with a video, about 10-minute video that will be kind of explaining the Sharpe Scholars program and what it offers and what it's all about. And then after that, we'll be getting into a question and answer period. And this whole session will last about an hour, from 4:30 to 5:30 Eastern time. So I'll just get us started off. I'll share my screen. Hopefully there's no technical difficulties. If there's anything that is wrong, just message the chat board. Awesome. So let me just start us off.
My name is Monica Griffin, and I'm the director of the Sharpe Community Scholars program. I'm also an alumna of the university, and I've enjoyed working with the Sharpe program for over 15 years now. I have over 20 years of teaching experience in higher education with a doctoral training in sociology. I like to bring that expertise to my work in teaching in Sharpe in a health disparities seminar. And also I teach a course and lead a research project, the Sharpe Participatory Mapping Project.
Hi everyone, my name is Jabria Craft, and I'm Sharpe's Living Learning Program Manager. I am a double alumna from William & Mary. I got my undergraduate degree in kinesiology, class of 2015, and got my master's in higher education, class of 2018. I started working with the Charles Center, which is the office that houses the Sharpe Community Scholar Program, in December of 2015, and have been working closely with Sharpe since this role has been created in May of 2019.
The Sharpe mission is embedded in the liberal arts tradition at William & Mary. In collaboration with William & Mary faculty, we aim to advance community-based research and teaching with integrated community partnering. We also support faculty in fulfilling community-based teaching and research goals. And we aim to provide students the opportunity to connect meaningfully with others. And that includes faculty, community partners, as well as peer mentors. Our initiatives include a number of things. We're going to mainly talk about the first year living learning community in this video. And I'll leave that to Jabria to talk about a bit more later, where first year students live together in the same residence with a common goal of learning more about community engagement as it can be integrated with academic learning. Another initiative is the Sharpe Participatory Mapping Project, which I teach as a course and also lead as a research project. In this project, it satisfies a second year curricular requirement for a Call 200, but also gives students the opportunity to engage with local community agencies and contacts and individuals to offer GIS-based technology and mapping some critical problems of our area and addressing those concerns with theological as well as humanities-based research. The Sharpe program has funding for summer research for students to continue their work in community-based research, always with the faculty supervising, but also in partnership with the community organization. We have endowment support for our faculty to not only develop and teach community-based courses, but also to lead students in the experience of community-based research.
So what exactly is a living learning community? Dr. Karen Inkelis, the author of Living Learning Communities at Work, defined these communities as cohorts of students intentionally grouped together in a residence hall who have a shared academic experience along with co-curricular learning activities for engagement with their peers. Students who participate in living learning communities experience enhanced academic and social opportunities, improved GPA, improved connection to faculty, greater involvement in learning, and increased satisfaction with their undergraduate experience, as well as increased persistence to graduation. The reason students show such extensive success in these programs is a result of their high impact learning approaches outlined by the model created by Dr. Ing's research team. We have followed this model to set clear goals and objectives, collaborate with residence life staff, and develop a space specifically for Sharpe scholars in the residence hall. This space, which we have named the Collaboratory, is where students are able to meet with their mentors, faculty, and staff from across the campus and the community. We host several academic and co-curricular experiences, including research development workshops, diversity discussions, career development exercises with the Cohen Career Center, tutorials on mapping from the Center for Geospatial Analysis, and much more. Our learning community has the following goals: deepening social integration into the university and peer interactions related to academics outside of the classroom, increase meaningful connections to co-curricular opportunities that will enhance their academic and community engagement, building student skills for collaborating effectively, ethically, and responsibly with others in community work, increasing students' capacity to describe academic relevance for engaging communities intellectually in action and research, as well as fostering transformational collaborative learning among students from a variety of backgrounds and identities. So what does it mean to be a Sharpie? In addition to the academic coursework, there are several immediate practical advantages to becoming a Sharpe scholar. Sharpies, as we lovingly call them, live together in Spotswood Hall. Students are able to interact and form bonds with their peers in Sharpe through the many academic and co-curricular experiences, mentor groups, seminars, community engagement projects, and social events. All Sharpe scholars have at least one thing in common. They are interested in community-engaged research and action. The frequent interactions and common interest help form a close community and ease the transition from high school to William & Mary. Students get to take courses specifically designed to foster critical thinking while engaging actively within communities. The primary goal of the Sharpe program is to connect academic coursework with community-based experience in learning and research. In the Sharpe Living Learning community, first-year students enroll in one of several Call 100 or Call 150 seminars that are specifically designed by faculty to create a foundation for developing community-engaged research skills. We also have Undergraduate Fellows assigned to each incoming Sharpe student. Fellows are always available to answer academic questions and help you navigate your first year within the program. Mentor groups meet throughout the year and participate in experiences together, such as going to see visiting speakers, participating in community events, supporting peers' performances and events, practicing self-care through wellness activities, having dinner dialogues, going to group fitness classes, and much more. Sharpies will participate in community projects as an entire cohort or with their mentor group. In the past, these have included Buddy Ball with the Arc of Greater Williamsburg, volunteering at the campus food pantry, and assisting the Habitat for Humanity Restore. Almost every week, we have a faculty member come into the residence hall for a series we call Popcorn with Professors, which is an intimate discussion about the faculty member's research, their department, and their overall experiences in academia. Students are able to get access to faculty they may not be taking courses with, but have an interest in getting to know. They're able to ask them questions about their research or academic advice. And yes, there is popcorn. As a Sharpie, you will participate in weekly study hours. These hours provide a set of recurring times for academic work, where you'll have the chance to discuss ideas, projects, and coursework with your peers. At various points throughout the school year, we have staff from Academic Advising and the Writing Resource Center host these study hours to assist students with any academic planning or writing questions they may have.
So let me summarize that. If you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, Sharpe intensely supports student success and academic scholarship. So in review, what are the benefits of Sharpe? The Sharpe Collaboratory. It's an amazing space for creative thinking in groups of people who are like-minded. living and learning with a focus and passion for social justice. There's also priority registration with Sharpe in the first semester. Since the curriculum requires those call 100s or call 150s, we want to be sure that we haven't taken over the credit hours that you're allowed to register for early on in your semester. So we've accounted for that by giving you extra time before others to register for your necessary courses. Don't forget, there's also the summer research funding opportunities in which many first-year students actually do get funded for research. Again, there's the social justice piece shared with your peers and also mentored by other peers and faculty who are frequently in the Collaboratory to help students along in their thinking. Lastly, there's student leadership and employment opportunities so that the experience doesn't necessarily end with the first year. You can stay involved and active in shaping the program with our leadership team well beyond your first year.
So how can you apply to be a Sharpe Scholar? Our application is available online, and we have a rolling admissions process, which means that we are constantly reviewing applications as they're coming in. Our final deadline is May 31st, so make sure you get it in before then. If you're interested in learning more about the Sharpe program, please join us during Day for Admitted Students. We'll be having 2 sessions, one with our current Sharpe Fellows and graduate assistants, as well as one with our first-year ambassadors, to give an extra experience for students who are interested in learning about how their time in Sharpe has been. You can also find information listed on our website, as well as our Instagram account at @SharpeScholars_WM. You can also send us an email if you have any particular questions that aren't addressed through these platforms. Our email is sharpe@wm.edu. Lastly, we have some photos just to showcase our students throughout their experience as Sharpe Scholars. This first one is from our most recent homecoming, where we had students join us from all different class years coming to reunite with their peers and staff and faculty. As mentioned before, our students are very active and involved in the Collaboratory as well as in the community. Here you can view pictures of our students in both of these spaces. And lastly, we can't wait to meet you. We're really excited to read your applications and welcome you into the Sharpe community. Let us know if you have any questions.
Great. Let's open up some questions. Looks like we already have some, so I'm going to jump off and let all the Sharpies answer the questions.
All right. So it looks like this first question, how competitive is it to receive acceptance to be a Sharpe Scholar? So we are doing our admissions on a rolling basis, meaning we're reviewing them as they're coming in. Our ideal class size is somewhere right around 50. In the past, we accommodated a little bit more than that. We work closely with Residence Life to make sure that we don't go over capacity within the residential space. But right now we're kind of looking for, like I said, a class size of around 50. So I would say we are really mainly looking for students who fit well within our program. So we're not looking to eliminate people for any particular reason, but more wanting to learn more about you and see why you would be a good fit for a Sharpe Scholar. In the program, within the application, we do ask you to check off a box that allows us to look at your Common App application. So we do review that as well. Not so much looking at the transcript or test score side of things, but more your personal statement. Again, just as a way to get to know you more holistically as a person. I see that one of the questions also addressed that. So we do look closely at the application, mainly to see what your experience has been and why you're interested in being a Sharpe Scholar. So we'll check off that question. I think I did kind of answer what the application process is like. It's an online application. You can do it on your computer, on your tablet, on your phone. It's mobile accessible, and we try to make sure that it's set up that way so you have optionality in how you choose to fill it out. There is a setting where you can start working on the application and then go back later within 3 days to submit. So you have a little bit of time in there if you want to work on some of the essay questions a little bit more. The first part of it is mainly demographic information, and then it gets into some essay questions about what is your experience with community engagement, what research interests do you have, why are you interested in being a part of a living learning community? Again, we're really trying to get at why do you want to be a part of Sharpe and what sort of attributes you have that we think would add to the larger community. sure I get the questions right in order.
I can take this one about social justice. I think that with Sharpe, we are fully committed and understanding that definitions of social justice can be deeply personal as well as widely political. Our goal is not to define social justice for any one person in the program or for the group as a whole. Our goal is to develop students in thinking about their own perceptions and understanding of social justice, ways of approaching social justice, and we fully expect you to grow. Many people come into Sharpe, not only students, but also our faculty and the staff that work with students, with ideas about equality or ideas about social change, sometimes deeply vested in political action or even interfaith relationships for making outreach to broader communities or social issues in the world. We don't want to box that in. What we aim to do is to put the best of our knowledge and resources toward cultivating your development toward research. And so as Jabria was talking about the application process, some part of our understanding of fit has to do with assessing to what degree have you begun to think about how academic learning and research and action can come together so that your conception of social justice is fulfilled in your development while you're here at William & Mary.
So it looks like this next question, is there a preference given to people who submit the application early, or is the admissions process holistic? That's an excellent question. So because our application process is on a rolling admissions basis, inherently there is some preference given to students who submit the application earlier on in the process. Like I said earlier, we are looking for a class of around 50 students. So it really is just going to depend on how many students end up applying to the program, of how competitive that process is. We highly recommend getting your application in as early as possible, just so we have a better chance to review it earlier in the process. So it is, like I said, looked at holistically in that we're looking at the common application. We're looking at your essay responses, and we're looking at your research and academic interests. And then it's really, like Monica said, just about making sure that, that we find a good fit within our program. If Sharpies all live together in Spotswood Hall, would I have to go to a random roommate? Oh, random with my roommate, or can I pick another Sharpie? That is a very good question as well. So Sharpies do all live together in Spotswood Hall as part of this living learning community. Because of the way our admissions process works as a rolling admissions basis and in partnership with Residence Life, if you wanted to pick a roommate who was also a Sharpe scholar, you would have to be in communication with them about if they were planning to apply or if they already have applied. The good news about that, with it being rolling admissions, is that if you identify a roommate early in the process, you both find out you've been admitted to Sharpe, and then you can both submit each other within the housing selection process. Where it gets a little bit trickier is if you have a roommate who is not sure that they want to apply or applies later in the process. Then it does get a little bit trickier to discern if they're going to be accepted within the program. But you can definitely choose your roommate ahead of time. If you apply and get accepted, just know that you will be living in Spotswood, and so your roommate that you selected will also be living in Spotswood with you. Is it common for Sharpies to do other extracurriculars activities outside of the community? I'm actually going to let our fellows talk a little bit about this because they are both very actively involved. So Maya, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I'd say one thing that you learn pretty quickly once coming to William & Mary is people seem to have a lot of passions and really jump into them in many different ways. So people usually aren't involved in just one thing. If you do want to be, like, that's absolutely, you love it and you're taking a leadership role in it and you're taking all your time, that's fantastic. But students are usually involved in at least a couple of things that they're really enjoying. So I both work as a Sharpe Fellow, but I also work for another organization on campus, and those are my two main activities. As a freshman, as a Sharpe scholar, I was also involved in different clubs, and especially once you first go to the activities fair, you get inundated in so many different organizations. You sign up for everything and then you realize, maybe I don't want to be doing something every single night of the week, and you just slowly choose the ones that you're really interested in. But I'd say having a community of scholars at the very beginning who already they decided and they've applied to this, so it's a very intentional decision rather than just signing up for a club and then maybe dropping it after a couple of weeks, is that not only is it engaged in community outside of the William & Mary campus, but you really have the experience of community with the living learning environment, and then also just getting to know people in your classes through Sharpe or through different hall meetings or the Collaboratory. So I think that hopefully fully answers that question. Ava, do you want to?
Yeah, I would say you definitely have enough time to really like find and develop your passions outside of Sharpe. So I would say like for me, as a first year in Sharpe, it really allowed me to like delve into my research and community-based interests, but then I was also involved in other things like a psychology research lab that I wasn't doing like psychology for my Sharpe research, so I was able to have like these two different passions. And I was also involved in like a social or like cultural club. So I would say like for a lot of Sharpe scholars, what makes them unique is that they're so interested and invested in both research and community-based learning, but they also have a lot of other passions that makes them stand out.
So our next question, is the Sharpe program only for first-year students? So the Living Learning Act, because it is in a freshman or first-year hall, it is a first-year part of the program. So unfortunately for the Living Learning aspect, we aren't able to accommodate transfers or upperclassmen students, but there are other opportunities for you to be involved in Sharpe, which Monica, if you would mind talk a little bit more about.
Absolutely. The Living Learning program is our first year program, as Jabria mentioned, because of residence hall policies. However, in the spring semester of each year, I am teaching the Sharpe Participatory Mapping Project, and that satisfies a requirement that generally second year students will take, but Sharpe scholars and other first years are welcome to enroll in the class, and it will satisfy a second level curriculum. Additionally, our faculty who teach in Sharpe offer sometimes a third year level research project that is really nice for students who have been in the first year program to grow into. Once you've been in those first year seminars, those faculty know you, know your capacity to do the kinds of research that they're engaged in with community. So it makes it an easier pathway when you come knocking on their door for research opportunities with community, both in terms of their own research, but also in terms of assisting you with yours. Many Sharpe scholars, like those that are in this video call, will also apply for the summer grant either immediately following their first year experience, or they'll wait until another year when they've gotten a few more methodologies under their belt, or they've had a few more experiences in community, and they've gotten certain that they need funding for something really exciting that they want to pursue. So it can happen at any time that you're at William & Mary that you are an active Sharpe scholar. And they are also fellows in the program. We have Sharpe fellows of all years that stay with us, sometimes employed by the program to assist us, but also as ambassadors that show up for community events or particular events that invite our alumni back, helping us program with network types of connections. So there's a saying in the Sharpe program, once a Sharpie, always a Sharpie. And I think that that's intended to characterize the continuation of involvement by students beyond their first year.
So next question, would it be feasible to engage in research through both the Sharpe and the Global Research Institute? The answer is absolutely yes. So like Monica said, our scholars are welcome to apply for summer research grants any year during their tenure, during their undergraduate tenure. Same with the Global Research Institute. So you could stagger your summers of when you want to apply for the different types of funding. The first year of Sharpe, we're really focused on providing you the background, methodologies, and the foundations of how to do community-based research. So we do a lot of work with community partners, staff members on campus, faculty on campus, and our students that already have experiences doing research, to make sure that our first year students have a good understanding of what that research looks like. And then at the end of the year, you're developing action items towards what you would later on do to develop that research. So in terms of when you would like to actually pursue those projects, you have a decent amount of flexibility in terms of what semester, what summers you want to actually apply for that funding. Same with the Global Research Institute. They're happy to work with you throughout all 4 years, or just one particular time as well. So the next question, what type of research do Sharpe scholars do? I think it would be great if Eva and Maya could talk about what research they've done as some examples.
Yeah, so in my first year, in the first semester, it was more of an individual research project, and I was in Professor Griffin's health disparities seminar, and we watched a documentary about human trafficking, and that really interested me, and I really wanted to delve more into that issue. So in my first semester, I did a research project on the role of silencing in human trafficking survivors and how that plays out in the society. And then in my second semester of my first year, it was more of like a group project. And for that, we created a student IRB approved survey where we analyzed like the demographics of mental health in William and Mary students. And that was definitely an interesting and eye-opening research project for me, because not only was it like to do with my major, but it also had like, you know, it was grounded in reality, and you could see the effects of our research like in the William and Mary community. So that was a very like fulfilling research project for me.
Before coming to college, I think I had this perception of research being happening in labs or being very quantitative, and I didn't really have interest in either of those, so I didn't think that I was going to be getting involved in research. I definitely wasn't expecting to get involved in research my second semester of freshman year, and having been involved in research every single semester since then. And similar to you, Eva, in my freshman year, I got involved with my professor, who was my Sharpe seminar professor, Professor Lisa Meyer, who teaches a class called Intro to LGBTIQ Studies, and she also leads the William Mary LGBTIQ Research Project, and it's an oral history research project, and every couple of weeks we would go on Saturdays to Richmond and do interviews with older people who identify as LGBT+, and it was just really fantastic learning experience for me. I didn't know that oral histories were research. I had no clue what I was doing, but I like learned pretty quickly and enjoyed every moment of that. And I was involved in that for a couple of years. And then now through some work that I've been doing on campus since my freshman year as well, I'm doing a senior thesis based on that. And it's kind of this idea of alternative breaks in college, which is service learning during either like a winter break or summer break, spring break, etc. But what is it like when students are working with international communities, and what is the positionality there, and kind of looking into all those different ideas and ethics and efficiency of that type of work from the students' perspective and also from the community's perspective. And so it's still very community-based research, and that's what I'm writing my thesis on this whole year.
Sorry, still waiting to unmuting myself to speak. So are all community engagements the same for every Sharpie, or do they vary based on the student's focus? They absolutely vary based on the student's interest and focus. So we have different Sharpe seminars that are community engaged, taught by faculty in a multitude of different departments. So this upcoming year we have sociology, kinesiology, interdisciplinary studies, history, American studies, all represented. We've had students who have been in the hard STEM field. We've had students who have been in the humanities. Pretty much every academic area or discipline that you could think of has been represented at some point by a Sharpe scholar. And they have all found community engagements and community partnerships that they've been interested in exploring. So we do have a few that are set up through group cohort volunteering, and that will be starting with the beginning of the year, where we do a few larger group volunteering experiences, just to give you introduction into members of the community. Then after that, we really ask you to kind of think what you're interested in. For you as a person, what do you want to learn more about? What do you want to contribute? And how do you want to work with members of the community to do these different projects and research? So it's really up to you in terms of what you want to engage with. It might also be based off of a faculty member that you've been working with, that you have built a relationship with, or have found interest in the research and helping them develop it as well. So it really is kind of what you're interested in and what you want to make of it. Our next question, Eva, did you want to take, oh, yes, Eva, did you want to take this one?
Sure. So are the scholars' dorms air conditioned? They live in Spotswood Hall, which is not air conditioned, unfortunately. But if you want, you can request to have like an individual AC unit installed in your window. And in my year, that was like the one year when Sharpe scholars weren't required to live in Spotswood, and my hall was like way worse than Spotswood. So I feel like, you know, everything turns out fine, and like you can bond with everyone because you don't have AC. So I feel like it's a, you know, it's almost like a essential part of the first year experience to not have AC, but you can definitely request to have it if you need.
Just to add on to that really quickly, the Collaboratory, which is our space for Sharpe scholars in Spotswood Hall, have an air conditioning unit. So that's one benefit of it. Also, most of the, I believe the lounges on the first floor have air conditioning as well. So there are some spaces that will be nice and cool, especially in those hot summer months when school is starting. So this next question, what is the timeline to receiving an answer about an application to the program? So like I said, we're on rolling admissions basis, so we'll start reviewing actively next week. So we plan to send out acceptances on a weekly basis as we're receiving them. So those first notifications will probably go out by the end of next week, and then we'll continue in that timeline until May 31st.
The next question is, can you expand on what research in partnership with communities means? That's an excellent question, and it will vary by course. It will vary over time. I'll give you a few examples of how courses have partnered with communities in the past. We, in the past, had an Africana Studies course that also was taught by a theater professor. And she often partnered with theater producers as well as screenwriters and community film houses to work with actors in creating, I forget what it's called, I think a study guide for the actors. So her students were often involved in a similar project together in partnership with a production company to get understanding across to actors as they prepared for a production that all the students had read, as well as participated with community, where her students had prepared for post-performance discussions with audiences. So that's one way that they were engaged in partnership. Maya mentioned the Lgbtq Class, where the partnerships have actually varied according to what was available and what the opportunities were. So students not only were trained to conduct oral histories in which they had to kind of go contact by contact, they also volunteered at an organization called Side by Side in Richmond. That organization is set up to support and offer resources for teens who have been turned out of their homes and require some kind of assistance, either with sustenance, clothing, food, job opportunities, or safe shelter for continuing their education. They've also worked with organizing groups who have been involved in the Pride Parade in Richmond as well. We have two interesting partnerships coming up with two new faculty in Sharpe for next year. that are connected to both our housing issues and our health issues. So one faculty member is going to be partnered with Old Town Medical Center, which is a medical center for affordable health here in Williamsburg and James City County. Students will be involved in some research that informs that center about how better to serve an underserved population. And the other class is going to be working on evictions in Virginia and the degree to which they can find out more information about the process in order to see where bridges can be built in order to give everyone a quality of safe shelter in the area. And the list can go on. In each of those classes, students are sometimes working on a particular project, but can also take a piece of it in a way that allows them to explore their individual interests, much in the way that Jabria described. So, you know, our spatial inequalities class uses ArcGIS to look at inequality of all kinds from year to year. One year it was about zoning for education. Another year it was about political campaigning issues and voting districts. So I look forward to finding out what Professor Saporito will do next and who he will partner with. Sometimes the partner is the audience that's intended for the research. And so he often gives students a say in figuring out who needs this information and how can we get it to them in the most quality way.
Do I need to be committed to William & Mary before submitting the application? So we do have a check that says you have to be admitted to William & Mary. You do not have to be committed, but we do ask that when you apply, that it be a school that you're seriously considering. Because we're doing a rolling admissions basis, we don't want to take away spots that could be used for students that have already committed to William & Mary. But we're not going to rule you out if you are still in the decision-making process. Can you apply later on in your William & Mary career, or is this your only chance? So for the first year living learning part of it, the first year is the only time that you would be able to participate. Like Monica said, there are lots of opportunities to engage with Sharpe in your upperclassmen years. And they will also make you eligible to apply for Sharpe funding later on, particularly if you work with the participatory mapping projects. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add on with that, or.
Yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. If you are enrolled in the Sharpe Participatory Mapping Project and you did not get a chance to do the first year living learning program, you will be eligible to apply for Sharpe summer funding.
Are the dorms in Spotswood regular dorms, or are they suite style? And do they have triples? That's an excellent question. So a lot of the information about Spotswood Hall in particular, you can get through Residence Life. From my understanding, there are no triples. They're hall style, not suite style. But I don't want to misquote or speak incorrectly, so I would definitely, Maya, if you want to hop on for that one.
They're hall style, but not suite style, but there's, I think, I could be wrong, I think there's 2 triples in the lounge area. So there's like, it's almost like a split level. So there's 2 lounges and one is higher than the other. And there's, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's 2 triples in that area.
Thank you for that one. So how would being, oh, sorry, zoomed up on me. I lost it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the question. There is a question, how would being a Sharpe Scholar affect being a Monroe Scholar, if at all? It would not, except that you could be a Sharpe Scholar, you could be that with Monroe Scholar, W.M. Shore Scholar, 1693 Scholar. We've actually had all as Sharpe Scholars. What's unique about Sharpe, though, is that we do have a living learning program in place that requires you to be in the residence. I know that Monroe Scholars have an option to live in a particular residence, but that would mean that you would be apart from our programming. So you could still be a Monroe Scholar, you could still participate in the programming that are for Monroe students, though that programming occurs largely outside of their residence hall, which is why they don't have that requirement necessarily. But to be a Sharpe Scholar, you do have to be in the residence hall.
So what exactly are the community study hours like? Are they obligated during certain times once a week? So we actually have multiple times throughout the week that are considered our study hours. They are set times, and students have to sign up for which ones they want to participate in, and they are required weekly. This past semester, they were normally in the evening between 7 and 9 p.m. 3 days a week, and then we also offer at least one afternoon time as well, just to accommodate all different schedule types that students are working with. The fellows are the ones that monitor those study hours. So Eva or Maya would like to speak to that a little bit more based on their experience.
So there were study hours almost every day, and we also had a lot of open hours, which means that the Collaboratory is still open. So like, even though you won't sign in for the study hours, you can still use the resources in that space. And I will say that like, the hours really depend on the Sharpies availability. So like if more Sharpies want to use study hours and like there's a higher demand, then we'll definitely like be flexible and change based on how much the students want.
I also think it's nice to have an open area that you know is going to be quiet and like a productive space for studying that's not the library and very close to your home. So once you're done, you can just go to your bed because it is pretty difficult to study in your room in college.
Yeah, it's funny. The study hour is actually one of our most popular activities, so to speak. It's one that students seem to actually really appreciate, having that time, not only as a dedicated time and space to get their work done, but also a time that you know you're going to be around other Sharpe Scholars that are in your classes, that are in your mentor group, that you're forming relationships with. It's a great time to collaborate on coursework, talk about different academic interests and ideas and research development. So there is some room in there for some group study talking and study space as well. But if you're also just looking for a quiet area, we have that as well. So it's probably it's a great opportunity to kind of have that built into your schedule from day one when you're starting college. Let me make sure I'm in order. Can you give, and do you have to do research in the program? So within the first year part of the program, you were not required to start working on your community-based research. The first year is really focused on interpersonal development, academic development, and giving you the resources to then go on and do research later on. If you are interested in starting research your first year, we are happy to help you do that, and we have resources available to you. And are also happy to help you develop some of those action items that will get you launched into starting that kind of research. If you're interested in just kind of learning what community research is, seeing some examples of it, working with faculty who have done it in the past, seeing examples from students who've done it in the past, then that also is a great chance for you to look into that as well. So there is no requirement that you produce some sort of research final product by the end of the first year, but we do give you the foundation to go on and do that further. Can I give an example of a typical Sharpe activity? Yes, so one that we started this year as a series called Popcorn with Professors. So we have different faculty members come in, normally about once a week. I would say we have at least 3 a month that are coming in from all different disciplines across campus. And typically the first 10 to 15 minutes of that is them really just talking about their background and their experience with community-based research and research in general. And then we leave a lot of that time up to open Q&A so that students are able to ask some questions about the research experience, get academic advice from them, ask them about their experiences working in William & Mary, or working in academia. Really just a chance to have a more intimate discussion with the faculty member and to start building a relationship with them. So hopefully it'll give our students a great foundation and a great kind of jump point of a connection with the faculty member that they may not have any other direct connection to outside of that experience. I don't know if Maya or Eva wants to talk a little bit more about that or another activity that they have done themselves or have enjoyed.
Yeah, so there are a lot of different types of activities within Sharpe. So there are like field trips in each seminar that are like tailored towards the topic that you're learning. So in my first year for health disparities, we went to, I think it was called Eastern State Mental Hospital, right, Professor Griffin? So that like tied into our focus for the class. And then when I was a TA for the LGBTIQ class, we went to Richmond Pride. So I think that the field trips are like great activities that supplement your in-class learning. And we also have a lot of like social activities. Like I know this past fall we did going to a pumpkin patch. So the scholars were able to pick their own pumpkins, and then we decorated and painted them after. So that was really fun. Yeah, we definitely have like a wide range of activities.
So to make sure I understand, this program is about doing research in community. As everybody on this video knows, my typical answer to that is it's a lot more complicated than that. But it's challenging in all these great ways. We like to think of ourselves as developing students for research with community. So in your courses, you will be undergoing some training to take on research projects with and within communities. Faculty have been very careful to establish partnerships where that research is done in the most ethical and responsible and respectful way. So it's not quite in community so much as we partner with community. And sometimes those questions require less time outside than they do in our minds. And so faculty will take some time to kind of balance those experiences as part of your training and development. In this first year, we try to expose you to as many community engagement opportunities in the region because you're new to this region. It's important for you to get to know our community as well as begin to form your own commitments to the kinds of questions that you would like to undertake. So we don't rush you to do any research right away with folks you're just getting to know, and that includes our community. We want to give them a chance to get to know you too. And so research that you do usually comes out of that relationship, and we try to foster that as part of the program, not only in the classes, but also in terms of some of the activities like field trips. We will bring folks into the Collaboratory to talk to you about what's going on in the world of Williamsburg, James City County, or in the region. And sometimes that connects to a global issue as well. I think we're learning right now, nothing is just local. And so we hope to foster some community research skills and keep you going with that after the first year.
Is the orientation for Sharpe Community Scholars connected at all to the other freshman orientations? So we work with first year experience to schedule the Sharpe orientation process. Typically, we just have a 1 or 2 hour kind of introduction to the program where we go over the schedule, any different requirements. You get a chance to meet your program on the leadership team. Typically, that does occur during those first few days of orientation. We work with FIE to get that scheduled. And then we, like the start of the year, this past year, we did this by having a welcome dinner where we have all the Sharpe students, the mentors, graduate assistants, as well invite the Sharpe faculty. So you get a chance to meet them. It's really great that way to kind of see the whole cohort together, to start getting to really know your peers and start building that part of the community. Are all research projects based around community, or are there still opportunities to do STEM research? Monica, this might be a good one for you.
Sure. Sharpe supports community-based research, but that doesn't exclude any kind of research, to be honest. Are you going to work in a natural science lab as part of your Sharpe research? No. Will you have a faculty member who does work in a natural science lab potentially supervise your community-based research? Yes, that's quite possible. A number of scholars who have been in the Sharpe program have taken any range of our courses since they satisfy the first year requirement, but they've gone on to conduct research in countries all over the world, testing water quality and the impact of ecotourism on that water. We had a student do translational research this a couple summers ago on a local body of water where the signage didn't properly educate the public about what contaminants were in the water and what that meant for determining whether to get in. And so that took a lot of partnering with some of the organizations and agencies that not only monitor those waters, but also produce the information and research that the public needs. And she had a natural science faculty supervisor for that because it took also translating chemical information for broader literacy about water quality. Sharpe scholars major in everything that's available at the college, and they find their ways to faculty who can adequately supervise their work. Often those faculty, no matter what the department, have an understanding of the relevance of their work for the world and for broader communities, and will be willing to work with students if they can articulate a question that is approachable through some of their own scientific work.
If I can add something, my roommate and in the Sharpe program as well, she's a neuroscience major, and she worked with a lab on campus called iGEM, which is a bioengineering lab. And so she was doing that research at the same time she was doing community-based research, where as a part of the competition that her lab entered into, they were also working with students that would come into the lab, and they would do small activities that were involved in bioengineering. And so she was also working with those students, and so her community research project was about working with those high school students and what that experience was like for them. So it was both kind of marrying those two passions and interests that she had together.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I keep losing track of this question. Sorry, May Sharpe Fellows share what a typical week in a Sharpe's freshman year might be like. I don't know if Eva or Maya would like to tackle that question.
Yeah, we can take that question. So typically the students have about 3 hours of their Call 150 seminar, which is like a Sharpe class that's specifically designed for the scholars. And then, so that's like 3 hours. And then they usually go to a couple study hours per week. And then they also could go to like different activities, whether that's through their mentee group or field trips in their seminar, or activities that their mentor like puts on for them. So I would say like it's typically consists of the seminar, the study hours, and the activities. And then also like if they're doing a research project, like that as well. Like the research project is like in their own time, so they can like kind of manage like how much time they want to put into that, but it really varies like week to week. I don't know if Maya wants to add on to that, or.
I think that about covers it, as well as the study hours and maybe time to meet with your Sharpe mentor as well. As fellows, we also have a small mentoring group of mentees, and so we might do social activities with them or different events just to talk about what they're doing in class and how we can support that.
How would being a Sharpe Scholar affect being a part of the joint degree program? That's an excellent question. So this year we have a student who's in the joint degree program. In the past, we've also had a few students. So it is definitely possible to do both and flourish in both. The only thing that would really affect in terms of Sharpe is which summers would be eligible to apply for summer research grant. So with the joint degree program, you're spending 2 years on campus at William & Mary, and then 2 years on campus at St. Andrews in Scotland. So those 2 summers that you would be gone or be located in Scotland, you wouldn't be eligible to apply for a summer research grant. But otherwise, it wouldn't really affect much of your experience here. It really would just be about time management between the activities of both programs, as well as anything else you're interested in joining. I'm interested in doing, oh, I lost it again. Sorry, these questions are really just like floating around for me. Monica, can you tell which question is next? I'm so sorry.
I think the next one is, are there certain majors that Sharpies tend to have?
I think I've answered that they really, it's really a broad range. We've seen everything from religious studies to sociology to kinesiology, chemistry, biology, pre-law, pre-med, English, you name it. Across the humanities, we get all majors. I think that comes in large part because we're not trying to restrict your interest or growth academically. We really seek to develop you from where you grow.
Are there study abroad opportunities connected to the Sharpe program? So we do not have study abroad opportunities that are directly connected with us, but if you were interested in taking research abroad or developing a research project abroad, then your summer research grant, if you apply and receive that, could cover the cost of doing some work abroad. But we don't have any specific partnerships that are established with Sharpe for study abroad programs. Can you rush a fraternity or sorority while in Sharpe? Yes, absolutely. We have quite a few students who are in both social and academic and service fraternities and sororities. Like I said earlier, our Sharpe students are involved in a lot of different things. So really it's just about figuring out how you're going to balance your time and the requirements between those different organizations. But we do everything we can to be flexible and allow our students to flourish all across the board in terms of what they're interested in being engaged in. This is a Q made to promote the program, but why would some say they would not want to be a Sharpie? That is a very interesting question. I haven't thought about that. I think it could be a little overwhelming to think about being in a living learning community where you have a certain amount of requirements and study hours and things that you're asked to participate in right from the beginning of your first day on campus. I think that actually is one of the reasons that our students do like to be a part of the program, is because they have an established set of students that they have some sort of commonality with, that they get to live with and go to the first day classes with. But I could definitely see how that could be overwhelming to think about being a part of. Also, if you've never done community-based research or don't really understand what community-based research might look like, that can also be daunting or overwhelming. But we do a really good job, and all of our students leave the program, I think, having a better understanding of what that looks like, but also having this community that they carry with them throughout their 4 years of undergraduate as well as after. We have alumni who are very actively engaged still with the program, who have continued those community partnerships, who have decided their major based off of the course that they took their first year within their Sharpe seminar. So I could see how that could be daunting or overwhelming, but it is definitely an excellent opportunity to really delve into some of those interests that you may not have been able to explore prior to this.
Button, we will only have time for just a few more questions. If you have any other questions, we'll have the emails listed. Maybe we'll put it in the chat just so if anyone has any questions, they can feel free to email anyone. So we'll just try and answer the last few questions.
Okay. How many classes are associated with the Sharpe Scholars program? So we have 5 freshman seminars or first year seminars that satisfy either a Call 1 or a Call 100 requirement. Those are all listed on our website, which we highly recommend that you take a look at just to learn a little bit more about what those course descriptions might look like, who's going to be teaching those courses, what departments they're offered in, as well as just learn a little bit more about the program and see what other resources we have available. But this coming year, we have 5 seminars. Like I said, are in a wide variety of different disciplines, including sociology, kinesiology, history, and American studies, and interdisciplinary studies. One of them is cross-listed. I know it listed 6 departments, but one of those courses is cross-listed between American studies and history. Does each Sharpe Scholar get an advisor? Also, or all of the RAs and Spotswood previous Sharpe Scholars? Excellent questions. So each Sharpe Scholar will be in one of those Call 100 or Call 150 courses. So that faculty member is probably the one that they will get the closest to, per se. But you do get an assigned peer mentor or a Sharpe Fellow, which Maya and Eva both are. So they'll be working with you throughout the year to help you establish any sort of academic interests, answer questions about student life and academic life at William & Mary, what it means to be a Sharpie, answer any questions about the experience during their first year and any advice that they might have. So in that regard, you do get kind of a peer advisor to guide you through your first year as a Sharpe Scholar. We also have a dedicated staff and faculty who are working with you throughout that first year as well. And all of the RAs, I think the last question was all of the RAs, are they Sharpe Scholars? Some of them are and some of them are not, which I think actually adds a really nice dynamic to the learning community. That means you have some students that are not currently involved in Sharpe but have that understanding and have gone through that experience. But also to have some that are not, I think, is a way to kind of bridge things between students who are involved in the program and who are not within Spotswood Hall. But not all of them are Sharpe Scholars, but a few of them are. I think that was the last question.
All right, great. And so we'd just like to thank all the people who attended this session and everything, and for all the Sharpe community members who were able to join us and to give great information and great stuff. I sent on the message board the emails from Monica and Jabria. If you have any questions after this, they also be hosting a chat on April 18th in the afternoon. And so if you're interested in that, that's also going to be there too to find more information. And also please join us for next week's sessions as well as all the sessions on Saturday, April 18th. It'll be kind of our last week of digital day for admitted students. So again, thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Good try.